Hello friends, I am Nimita Velmurugan, host of the day. I am very excited to introduce C. Vijayaraghavan, who is a practicing chartered accountant, a certified information system auditor, a qualified registered valuer, a person with immense experience in internal and statutory audit, and a secretary of International Chamber of GST Professionals, secretary of International Fiscal Association, management committee member in the Chartered Accountant of Study Circle, Chennai, and also a board member of Rotary Club. It is an honor to have this opportunity to introduce you, sir. In this session, we will discuss in detail about IRAC norms, which is simply known as Income Recognition and Asset Classification, which specifies detail about when an asset is treated as overdue. I hope you guys will have a better clarity in the topic at the end of the session. And one more thing, guys, you are not allowed to unmute yourself in the middle of the session. If you guys have any queries, you can put it in the chat box at the end of the session. Now, the session will be taken over by Mr. Vijay Raghavan. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello, sir. Vijay Raghavan, sir. Am I audible?
Guys, please wait for a couple of minutes. I'm sorry for that.
Sir, you're not audible till now. Am I audible? You can give it in the chat whether I am audible or.
I'm not assigning sir as your co-host.
I didn't heard of it. I didn't heard of it. Or started or not.
So sorry for making you wait. Give me a couple of minutes. I'll talk to the host and I'll get back. Sorry again, sir.
Able to hear me now? I'm joining from another login.
Yes, sir. You're audible. You're audible, sir.
So just a second, I'll change the name. Just make the Can we start the session now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can chat. Yes, sir. It's clear now.
Good evening, friends. Sorry for the inconvenience. I do not know where is the technical glitch. However, we'll start the session now. I think, yeah, it's on live. Yeah. I must just definitely thank the organizers, SICASA, for giving me an opportunity to interact with the young minds of this profession. Before commencing, we must definitely understand the importance of bank audit. Hope yesterday's session would have definitely helped you on verification of advances. Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. The today's topic is IRAC norms. It is income recognition and asset classification norms. It is one of the most important part of the branch audit. You certify the assets are classified. That is the advances. With respect to advances, you may generally advances in corporate audits. You will understand it as advance to expenses, to employees, rent advances, etc., etc. Only those payments you will understand it as advances. In respect of banking terminology, would have lent to a borrower. That amount, payment amount, is termed as advance. How do you classify that advance? Whether it's good or not so good? That is the terms that we are going to use. With respect to income recognition, if the asset is performing or non-performing, depending on that income on that lending is recognized. This IRAC norms is prescribed by Reserve Bank of India in order to make all the banks classify advances and income recognition in uniform manner. RBI has prescribed, like similar to Schedule 3 format that is prescribed by Companies Act. This IRAC norms is prescribed by RBI. Where do we get these norms? We need to go to the RBI website, download it. When is it latest made available? The master circular on IRAC norms is dated 1st April 2022. So we'll commence the session. Just this is the screen. If you could see, this is the a page in the audited financial statements of State Bank of India. Just look at the signatories. If you see 3 columns and 4 rows, it is 12. 12 chartered accountants firm have certified the financials. From this, you will definitely able to understand the volume and the importance of certifying a balance sheet. This page pertains to consolidated financial statements of State Bank of India. To what does this IRAC norms apply? To which category? This AC means asset classification. It refers to screen in the balance sheet. If you could see item number 9, schedule number 9, advances, you can see the figures beginning from 27. It's a very big figure, and that figure is already in thousands, which means it is 27,33,000 crores. Just imagine the volume and the importance with this figure. And out of that IRS income recognition, schedule number 13, 275457. Just imagine the number and the verification to what extent that it should be done. See, as I told, this is a consolidation figure of the entire bank. With respect to branch, this is a very limited, this could be a limited figure and still a substantial figure for a branch. So what are we going to do? I told you, amount lent by a bank to a borrower is termed as advance. So how do I classify an advance? In the balance sheet, if I see, you saw only one figure named advance. But inside, if you go inside, as the same advance will be categorized in 4 different manner. As you see, it is sector-wise, security-wise, fund-wise, and prudential norm-wise. This prudential norm-wise is the part of our discussion today. But however, in basic, you must definitely understand how an advance, the same advance, will be classified in different manner. The first one, it is sector-wise, priority sector and non-priority sector. As with the name itself, you will definitely be able to understand priority, which means sectors of the economy where definitely there is a funding required. Otherwise, the economy will get stuck. The bank will not be or may not be interested to lend in case of certain sectors where they may not get the enough remuneration, that is interest income. So for such sectors, the RBI has prescribed a certain portion of total lending should be to a priority sector. For example, it could be housing, it could be education, it could be farming. All the three, it could be, there are few more categories. I'm just telling you an example. For all these categories, the bank generally may not be interested to lend. Only if you pressurize or if you categorize a particular portion of your total lending to these sectors, there will be movement in the economy. There will be an economic cycle. So these sectors are classified as priority sector. There could also be non-priority sectors. So every lending will either go to priority or to non-priority. The second category is security wise. When the bank lends, there could be a security for that. I pledge a particular deposit with you, and out of that deposit, you lend me some portion of the money. That is a bank lend to the borrower. In that case, it's a secured advance. There could be certain advances which could be unsecured. For example, personal loans to a certain extent may be unsecured. Education loan to a particular amount could be unsecured, or it could be any category of loan which could be unsecured. So an advance could be categorized as, the same advance could be categorized as priority, non-priority, and the same advance could be categorized under secured or unsecured. The third category is fund-wise, whether it is fund-based or non-fund-based. We should be able to understand what is fund-based. If there is a movement in the money, for example, you go to a bank, the bank lends you 100 rupees through your bank account. The 100 rupees hits your bank. When it hits your bank and you are able to trace the movement of money, it is fund-based. Non-fund-based, I could give you an example. It could be bank guarantee or a letter of credit, which is only a promise in case of a default. I go to a bank, I have a tender application on hand. The tender application says you must give a bank guarantee of 100 rupees, which will be which is a part of a tender application itself. So I don't have money. I go to bank, seek bank guarantee from them, which means it will be a document saying, in case of a default by the borrower to the tender issuer, I promise to pay you the fixed amount. For that, the bank charges certain portion of the fees as income. So if there is a movement of money which you can capture, it is fund-based. If it's a promise, and when that promise is broken, that is, if the borrower does not adhere to the promise that he has given to the tender issuer, the bank will pay. Only in that situation. So prima facie, the primary transaction, there is no movement of money. Only on default of something or happening or non-happening of a condition, their monetary trial begins. In that case, it is non-fund based. The fourth one is prudential norms wise, and this is the core topic of the session. Every advance could be classified as regular, SMA, or non-performing. Under what? Who has prescribed this? As I told you, it's Reserve Bank of India through its Master Circular dated 1st April 2022. It has, if you see, it's a long circular, but every aspect of it, the nature of the facility, how it should be classified, how income to be recognized, and several other matters are given in that circular. I strongly suggest you to go through the entire circular just before you commence the audit. As part of the audit team, before you commence the audit, definitely you must go through the entire circular once. By go through it once, you will not be able to understand fully, but at least the terminologies used in the bank audit, which usually are may differ in other audits, you will be able to understand, appreciate what is that. Otherwise, we'll get exposed that the person who has come to audit does not know this basic terminology. The auditee, that is a bank, may behave differently with you, which will not help your signatory partners. So before commencing the audit with respect to IRAC norms, definitely you must understand or go through the entire circular once. The entire bank audit, if you see, you do the bank audit for a period of 5 to 10 working days for a normal size of a branch, the most of your time and the certification revolves around this prudential norms wise. That is, you are going to certify the advances as standard, substandard, and within that there are several buckets involved, which I'll tell you on the later slides. So the entire advances we are going to certify it as either standard or substandard or so and so. So the entire audit revolves around this. So it is very important to read the circular and understand. Wherever you get stuck or you don't understand, I suggest you to get in touch with your partner during the audit or just before the audit itself, so that if you could hear something just before the audit, it will definitely be helpful during the audit. If you read it well before it, that may not strike you. Anyway, you are very near to the audit period. Most of you would have even commenced the audit. We don't know because there is also a pre-audit phase. For before commencing the audit. If you're allotted branch, there are certain details that you get before commencing the audit itself. So you might have, some of you might have even commenced the audit. Classification of assets as per the IRAC norms. Before commencing, it is asset classification first and then comes the income recognition. It is not the other way. You classify advances in a particular manner as per the circular, and based on that, income is recognized. So it is AC first and IR next. So performing assets, non-performing assets, every asset, advance or account. I mean everything the same. I may use it interchangeably. Performing advances means account is performing and does not carry more than normal risk attached to the business. Assume I'm lending rupees 1,000 to my friend under an agreement that he will repay me 100 rupees of principal plus 1 rupee of interest for 10 months. With the 10 months, the entire 1,000 rupees will be repaid to me along with interest during the course of the loan. Account is performing means as per the agreed terms, I get the repayments from my friend. From the borrower, I get the repayment properly. It is principal or principal and interest. I'm getting back the amount that I've lent properly as per the agreed terms. That only means performing. Account is performing and does not carry more than normal risk attached to the business. As you know, risk means here in this scenario, risk means risk of collecting the principal or interest or principal and interest. That is a risk. Normal risk means in the normal course, whether that the amount that I've lent to my friend will be collected back to me or not. This is a normal. Every business will have a risk. It might be normal or it could be higher or abnormal risk. So if it is a normal risk only attached to the collection and the account is performing, it is a performing asset. So what is non-performing asset? The asset cease to generate income. Means, as I told you in the example, 1,000 rupees lent on 1st January 2022. The borrower has repaid rupees 100 plus 1 on 1st of February. The borrower has repaid 100 plus 1 on 1st of March. So 2 installments I have collected. Till that period, it is performing. On the third installment, that is 1st of February, March, and 1st of April. Forget the dates, just concentrate on the period alone. On the 1st of April, which is the amount that is supposed to be collected, 100 plus 1, is not getting repaid. I am not getting that due to any reason. My friend has not repaid me 100 plus 1, the third installment, which means the asset cease to generate income. Income does not mean income interest alone. It could also be a principal default or it could be an interest default. So asset cease to generate income. Higher risk than normal attached to the business means here, assume I have the amount that I have lent to my friend. He has invested in somewhere and that investment has gone bad. It's only an assumption. There could be various other examples given. Assuming that investment has gone bad and I am I am aware of that default. So the possibility of collecting back the principal interest or principal and interest is higher to the business. So which means the first condition is asset cease to generate income, and the risk has become higher to the business. The third one, non-performing as per various criteria for various types of loan. So this is broadly the understanding. This is what you broadly has to understand. What is a performing advance? What is a non-performing advance? Performing advance has two categories in itself, which is regular category and a special mention account. Standard advance, that is standard asset, which is equal to performing asset, non-standard asset, which is non-performing asset. Okay, the standard asset has two categories in it, which is regular, and the next category is special mention account. In special mention account, there are three categories. SMA, shortly, it is called SMA, SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, which means standard asset has four categories: regular, SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2. By default, every asset falls into the regular category. In the case that I've told, 1,000 rupees lent to my friend, in good faith, I've lent him. So by default, it's a standard asset. The income and the principal and the interest will be repaid. That is in basic, in that faith, I have lent him. So by default, it falls into the category standard regular. As I said, on 1st of February, a portion is repaid. 1st of March, a portion is repaid. On 1st of April, when the due date for the third installment comes, as I said, there is a default. I don't collect it. What will happen? From regular, it moves into the category of special mention account, which is in that first category is SMA 0. So from regular, it moves into SMA 0 on first default. And if there is a default on 1st of May 2022 also, there is a second default that is happening. It moves from SMA 0 to SMA 1. And there is another default. So based on the number of defaults, it is not number of default, the number of default that is not collected. Okay. So on 1st of April, I have not collected one due. On 1st of May, I have not collected the second due. On 1st of June, I have not collected third due. So when there is a defaults happening and the default is continuing for more than so much number of days, this category moves from one bucket to the other bucket. So from regular, it moves into SMA 0, from SMA 0 to 1, 1 to 2. I'll tell you number of days that is involved in between this. Okay. From SMA 0, what happens? So from SMA, inside SMA, inside standard, there are four categories. From the fourth category, if the default continues, it jumps into the non-performing asset, which we call it as NPA. Inside NPA, there are three categories: substandard, doubtful, and loss. Inside doubtful, there are three categories: D1, D2, D3. So broadly, there are standard regular, SMA three categories, non-performing substandard, non-performing doubtful, non-performing loss. So there are 7 categories. The asset will be categorized in the financial statements of that particular branch. So how does this SMA flagging happens? The system is optimized in such a way. RBI has given a direction to all banks in November 2021. So before that, I'll tell you when has the SMA type of categorizing has come in. This was introduced in 2014. Before that, there is no such concept called SMA. There was only regular and non-performing, and in that non-performing, 3 categories were there. So for a period of 4 months, for a period of 3, it will be in regular, and then it jumps into the non-performing category. From 2004, 2014, these 3 categories of SMA has come. So are the auditors responsible for this categorization? Are we going to do each account by account? No. The RBI has given a direction that all these to be automated. The bank's core banking solutions, which all of you are going to access during the period of audit, are systemized in such a way this flagging or movement from one bucket another bucket is automized based on certain conditions that is inbuilt. That's programming is done by the branch. We are not going to do any programming. We are not going to identify or move something manually. We are going to search, check not in complete manner, in sampling, which are chosen scientifically. And that sampling alone will be checked whether that categorization is right or wrong. I'm telling, including non-performing assets, everything is automized. We are not going to touch anything. Wherever the assets are given and categorized, and whichever classification it is in it, we are going to check the accounts in sampling basis in order to cover the indication. The entire that portion of sampling should indicate the entire population. It should not be it should not be not indicative one. For example, if there are 4 types of facility that is given to the that are available to the branch, in every type of facility, samples are to be chosen. Only then it will indicate the entire population of the advances. How this SMA classification, as I told, it is automized. We are not going to touch anything. When does the system identify a particular account as SMA 0 or 1 or 2? I will let you know in the next few slides. But on which day system converts that from one category to another category is the branch usually have a procedure of day end processing. Like similarly, a corporate, a small size corporate will have a year closing. For example, today is the day that is the last day for financial year 22-23. Mostly every corporate will work for extra hours, ensure they complete all the year-end operations. Similar to that, bank has day-end operations. There are several things that will happen on the last day. End of day of regularly of 365 days of the year. So they have a tool, they run the tool, and every reports are closed on that day on running the tool. So every account is classified on the end of that day. For example, if the due of a particular account is on 30th of March 2023, the accounts become due. One of the installment becomes due. If the amount is not credited just before the day-end processing, by that day on processing the day-end tool, that account will become an overdue account on the end of the particular day itself. It does not go to the next day. End of the day, during the day-end processing itself, that account becomes due. Classification of special mentioned account. As we saw in the previous slide, standard assets are classified into regular. By default, it goes into the regular mode. If there is a default, it moves from one bucket, 0 to 1 to 2. So when does it happen? Is the question. In which type of facilities there are different methods, or by different default methods, the account goes from one category to the other. I've classified into 2 basically: advances other than revolving facility, advances with revolving facilities. First, we'll consider other than revolving facility. I can give you an example for this term loan. There could be other facilities also. We will restrict it to one type of facility, which applies to several others also. One such facility is term loan facility. How will you understand whether it's a term loan or a other than revolving or revolving facility? Term loan, there is a fixed principal or interest, or fixed and principal, principal and interest. If there is a repayment that is agreed upon, in the example that I told, there is a monthly repayment of 100 rupees of principal and 1 rupee of interest. for a period of 10 months to repay 1,000 rupees. The repayment terms are fixed. The interest rate is fixed. So in that type of facility is other than revolving facility. I will tell you what is revolving facility. So term loan is an example for other than revolving facility. Revolving facility is a cash credit account, which is flexible in nature. Assuming I will lent a friend for I'm lent an amount of rupees 1,000 to a friend. There is no fixed terms between us. I have not told him you must repay 100 rupees every month. This is a limit that is given to you, and within the limit, you can borrow anytime, any amount, and you can repay anytime, any amount. Cash credit, you in different audits, you have definitely seen cash credit or overdraft facilities. You have definitely understood. There is a flexibility in it. A business may not always need a fixed need of cash or fixed repayment period or amount. So a business definitely in a particular season, they may require higher amount, higher facility need for running the business, and in a different period, they would have excess cash which they repay to the lender, that is the bank. So such cases are called revolving facility. Cash credit, OD is an example for revolving facilities. So you have understood what is a revolving facility. Example cash credit or OD. Other than revolving facility, example is term loan. In this different category of facilities, when does the account fall from regular to a special mention account? Regular, as I say, proper repayments in case of term loan, and properly operating the account in terms of CCROD. So in which, at what time an account falls from regular account to a SMA account. For other than is principal or interest payment or any other amount wholly or partly overdue. Principal or interest. In the example that I told, for an amount lent on 1st of January 2022, first repayment is 1st February, second repayment 1st March, third repayment is 1st April. First repayment due date is 1st of April 2022. If there is a default on 1st April and at the end of day processing, the account falls from regular to SMA 0 because there is a default. There is a default of principal or interest payment or any other amount. You can consider this as principal plus interest wholly or partly. For example, instead of 1,000, he has paid 500 and 1 rupee of interest. There is a default of 500 rupees on the third installment. In that scenario, the account falls from regular to SMA 0. With respect to CC facilities, what we have seen is only a term loan facility. In case of a CC facility, when does the account becomes SMA? That is, it is classified into SMA 0. As I say, it is regular. From regular, it will fall only to SMA 0. Then it falls from SMA 1, 0 to it may fall to SMA 1, or if there is a proper repayment on that day, that is, the earlier dues were also paid, it goes back to the SMA, it goes back to the performing regular. In case of CC, when does an account becomes a special mention account? That is, from regular, it goes into the category of SMA. Balance outstanding remains continuously in excess of sanctioned power or drawing, whichever is lower, for a period. In the example that I gave, in case of a CC account, I have lent to my friend 1,000 rupees and said, you can repay any time, you can draw any time within that 1,000 rupees. A businessman will not or may not always see before issuing a check whether it goes above the limit or whether it's within the limit. Assuming he has 999 rupees on a particular day, he issues a check of rupees 100 on the next day, which means it goes above. From 999, it goes from 1,099, which is above the sanctioned limit. I'll tell you what is drawing power in the next few slides. As of now, you understand the sanction amount is 1,000, but the balance outstanding goes above 1,000 rupees, which is 1,099 rupees. And this 99 period, 99 rupees above 1,000 for a particular period, it is continuously over that amount of 1,000 rupees. Then that account should be classified from regular to a non-performing account. This is an example that I said. We'll just see. As everybody would have recognized the picture of Vadivelu in that. In a movie, he's named as Alert Armukam, which is this categorization of special mention account is an alert mechanism introduced in the bank. It is automized. It's an automized alert mechanism. Who is going to see that alert? System is giving the alert, but who is receiving the alert? The receiver of the alert is a branch. Usually the branch manager, the branch in charge is the receiver of the alert. So what does he do? What do we do? When there is an account movement from regular to SMA 0, it alerts the branch manager. The manager senses that there is a possible default or the possibility of becoming this regular account in a non-performing itself is little higher. So what the branch manager does, he takes more care in collecting the account, following up with the borrower, and he will be able to communicate with. There will be around 2,000, 3,000 accounts in the bank. Each and every account he will not be able to go through and understand whether it is regular or SMA. So this alert mechanism will help the manager to reduce his concentration on potential non-performance or a potential default. If you could see the screen, it is SMA 0 to 30 days. That is, in the example that I gave, I'll go to the example again. The third installment of 100 rupees plus 1 on 1st of April 2022. On that day, if he is not paying, the account becomes from regular to SMA 0. And that default, if it continues for 30 days, that default of 1st April 2022, if it continues for a period of 1st April 2022 to 30th April of 2022, the account will be in SMA 0 category. Before the default, it was in regular category, that is performing regular. On default, on 1st of April 2022, the account moves from regular performing to SMA 0 performing. Understand? Standard asset, as I will recall the entire structure once again. Regular, that is standard, performing, standard. In that performing and standard, there are two categories, regular and SMA. SMA has three categories, 0, 1, and 2. After this continuing period only, it moves into non-performing. Okay. 1st April 2022, if there is a default, it moves from regular to SMA 0. And that default during the period of 30 days, that is April 1 to April 30, if the borrower is not repaying that 100 rupees plus 1, it goes from SMA 0 to SMA 1. That is default for a period more than 30 days. If the borrower repays it during the 0 to 30 period, that is from 1st April to 30th April, if there is a repayment of that 100 plus 1, the account moves from SMA 0 to regular. It goes back to the original category. Within this performing, it moves within the regular 1 and 2. It goes in between, and there's a repayment on the day, and the entire repayment on the date of repayment goes back to the regular account. So from 1st April to 30th April, it remains in SMA 0. If the default continues, it moves from 0 to 1, and the default continues for more than 60 days. From SMA 1, it moves into SMA 0. Hope you have definitely understood this. It's very simple. Regular to SMA 0 to SMA 1, SMA 2, there is a continuing default. If the repayment happens, it moves into the original category depending on the collection amount. Collection amount and the due. Similarly, with the cash credit category, I will tell you what are the under which circumstances it moves. Here also it is SMA 0, 1, and 2. Identification of NPAs. In the previous screen, you would have seen this one. special mention account. I'll show you the previous screen. Here, regular, subcategories in regular, subcategories in standard. From standard, it goes into not performing based on several parameters. It could be a financial parameter or a non-financial parameter. And if it goes there, similar to 0, 1, and 2, it goes from substandard to doubtful to loss. Financial parameters, non-financial parameters. So an account could slip from performing to a non-performing based on a financial parameters or based on non-financial parameters. We'll understand what is a financial parameter. Non-servicing of advances for an agreed period. The example that he told, if the borrower has not repaid on 1st of April 2022, that is the third installment, 1st of May and 1st of June, 90 days is over, which means from standard it moves to non-standard, that is non-performing asset. This is called a financial parameter. This is due to non-repayment of money back to the lender. It's a financial parameter. If the money is not paid, for that reason, it becomes non-servicing and it falls into the category NPA by financial parameters. There could be non-financial parameters, which means the repayment is made properly. In case of term loan, in case of CC, there are debits, credits, withdrawals, payments, all those are proper. But because of some other reason, the account is classified as non-performing. That is, from regular, it goes into non-performing, not because there are no movements in the transaction, there are no transactions with the lender and between the lender and the borrower, but because of some other reasons. I can tell you one example for that. Assuming the borrower has expired, directly the account is classified from regular to a loss asset. It moves directly into the loss, not just to substandard, doubtful or loss. It moves directly. There could be other examples. Assuming the person that have lent has invested in particular shares. For example, there could be it could be investment in a shares of a particular company. That company defaults and it's a public news. So the branch manager has been informed that the investment, that is the money that I've lent, is for an investment which has gone bad, and the manager will come to a conclusion that this account may not be in standard and may not be performing. It's a potential NPA. That could be the reason. Or there are no enough transactions in the ledger. For example, cash credit means there should be proper credits, that at least to the extent of the business turnover. CC is a business turnover. Assuming there are 3 crores of income in the borrower's income and expenditure, but he has routed only 20 lakh of credits in the CC account. During the period of sanction itself, in the sanction ticket itself, there will be an agreement that the business turnover should be routed through this cash credit. So there are enough credits in the account. This is an inherent weakness in the account. Even though the limit, the outstanding balance is within the limit, there are no sufficient credits to the account. This has an inherent weakness in the account. Non-achievement of DCCO. DCCO means date of commencement of commercial operation. Assuming the borrower, the bank has lent to a particular company for a particular project. They have not commenced the project, which means the cash flow from that project will to the company will definitely be deferred, or it may become a loss. So this non-achievement of the commercial operations commencement itself could be identified as a non-financial parameter, and that account could be classified as a non-performing asset. And the third reason stated is failure to comply with structuring conditions. There is a particular thing called restructuring of an account. If that restructuring happens and if they not comply with the restructuring, the account may become a non-performing. Identification of NPAs, IRAC norms. term loan, as I already told you, third installment due on 1st April 2022, interest or principal, that is the 100 rupees or 1 or 100 plus 1. If there is a due on 1st April, it becomes overdue. On 1st April, one installment becomes overdue. Till that date, the amount is only due. Till 1st of April 2022, that amount is due. Once day and operation is done, at the end of the day on 1st April 2022, by the branch tool, the account, if it is not paid, that account turns from due to overdue. And if that overdue amount is more than 90 days, that is till 1st of June 2022, that overdue amount which was not paid on 1st of April 2022, 100 plus 1, if the default continues for the period of 90 days, the account become non-performing. The account does not become non-performing on first day itself. The default continues for a period of, that default is called overdue, and if the default continues for 90 days, becomes non-performing. That is, from SMA 2, it is classified as non-performing. Inside non-performing, there are several categories, I will tell you. This is in case of a term loan. In case of cash credit or an overdraft, what is the term? Because there is no fixed terms for that. There is no fixed repayment period or time that is fixed. It's a running account. The amount goes up, the amount comes down. There is a fluctuation in the operation of the account. So in that situation, how does the account become a non-performing asset? The account becomes out of order. In case of a term loan, you call it as overdue for a period of 90 days. In case of a cash credit, the account remains out of order. To understand, just see, there is no mention of 90 days here. The account becomes out of order. What is out of order? We'll see. So for a term loan, the overdue continues for 90 days, and then only the account becomes regular to non-performing. In case of cash credit, there is no period mentioned here. Here it is not mentioned. So on the date of out of order, the accounts moves from regular to non-performing. This is in case of cash credit or overdraft. Before that, I would like to just mention quickly that what is the difference between a cash credit and an overdraft? There are several confusions. Even when I performed as an article assistant did my audit, I was not able to understand cash credit and overdraft. Very simple. Cash credit can only be availed by business users. Business borrowers alone can avail cash credits. But overdraft, it could be availed by business borrowers or a normal borrower. Example, overdraft. For an overdraft, I have to pledge something. As an individual, I have a deposit of 1 lakh rupees. I go to bank, I seek money from them. I give it 1 lakh to them, 1 lakh deposit to them. Lien marking is done on the deposit to ensure it is not closed. And that based on that deposit, the account, the facility is given by the bank. For example, 80,000 rupees is given. That is an overdraft facility. That type of facility could be availed by business as well as non-business users. As an individual, I go and get that overdraft. In case of cash credit, only business users can get it. I can give you the difference between cash credit and overdraft with one more example. Security. What is the security for this cash credit? What could be the security for this overdraft? For a cash credit, the security could be stocks and receivables. Stocks and or receivables. I am a businessman. I do manufacturing. What I will do, I will go and pledge my stock. I hypothecate my stock and receivables, and based on that value, the bank will lend me money. It's a you can't have a fixed stock or receivables on any particular day. It'll go up, it'll come down. On first of as the days go, the stock and the receivables are prone to fluctuations. So for a cash credit, the security is stocks and receivables. For an overdraft, it could be deposits or any type of investment instrument. That is the security. Just a second. Hello. sorry. So you would have basically understand cash credit and overdraft. Cash credit could be availed by only by business users. Overdraft could be availed by business user as well as an individual user. What is an overdue? I already told you, any amount due to bank under any facility is overdue if it is not paid on the due date fixed by the bank. On 1st of April, if I don't repay 100 plus 1, then at the end of the day, it becomes overdue. That's all. The borrower is flagged as overdue. If it is not paid, the system automatically flags that account or moves from regular to SMA 0 on that end of the day itself by bank as part of day-end process for the due date. This is the explanation of term overdue for a term loan facility, that is a non-revolving facility. As I said, for a term loan, it is overdue for a period of 90 days, the account becomes non-performing asset. For a CC, I told a different term. It is out of order. I want to check whether you are able to follow, or if you have any queries, you can mention in the chat. We will be able to clarify it at the end. Out of order for ODCC. If the outstanding balance, that is for term loan, when does the account becomes from regular to non-performing? We saw. For no ODCC, when does the account become? Since there are no fixed terms of repayment. Continuous outstanding balance continuously remains in excess of sanctioned limit or drawing power for a period of 90 days. Outstanding balance continuously remains in excess of sanctioned limit. In the example that I told, in case of a CC facility, 1,000 rupees, you are eligible. That is, I have given a sanction of 1,000 rupees to you. You can draw that amount to the maximum of 1,000 rupees anytime and repay anytime during the period. That is the basic understanding and a feature of a cash credit around OD. This outstanding balance is continuously remains in excess of sanction limit. For example, I've already lent you 1,000 rupees CC facility. What you are doing, you are issuing furthermore check to a supplier for a period of for an amount of rupees 100. What does it become? From 100, it becomes 1,100. And that 1,100, you are not able to repay me any amount. And that excess amount is remaining continuous for a period of 90 days. That is, the outstanding balance of 100 plus check issued of 1,100 rupees is remaining in the amount, which means there is no repayment during the period of 90 days. And that outstanding balance is always remaining in excess of sanction limit for a period of 90 days. That account becomes out of order. Now we'll come to the term drawing power. What is a drawing power? Sanction limit, you can see it from the sanction ticket that is given to the borrower. In the sanction letter, if you see, there will be a term mentioned called drawing power also. Subject to drawing power, okay? The security for a cash credit account could be stock receivables or stock and receivables. As I said, it's not a fixed number. The number will differ. It will fluctuate based on the business as the business progresses. So since the pledge amount itself, the amount that I will receive back, that is the security amount itself is fluctuation amount, the drawing power will also fluctuate. Example, setting the sanction limit at 1,000 rupees. Drawing power will be fixed by the branch according to a particular formula. Stock, the borrower has an amount of rupees 600 rupees. Let us take an example of 31st March itself. On 31st March, the stock that he has on hand is 600 rupees, and the receivable that he has on his financial statement is 1,000 rupees. There will be a margin for the bank. Just a second. Even the stock the borrower has 600 rupees, the bank may have a margin of 25%. 600 into 25%, and a particular number comes, it will reduce that, and only the reduced number, that is the 75% of 600 only, the borrower is eligible to draw from the bank, even though the sanction limit is 1,000 rupees. Similarly, in case of trade receivables, the number is 1,000 rupees, but margin of 40 rupees is for the bank, which means 60% only the borrower is eligible for out of that 1,000 rupees, which is 600. In the stock, it is 500 only the borrower is eligible. In the stock, he is eligible for 600. If you put together, it is 1100. Still, it is above. In case the stock and the receivables both comes down on 31st March, what will happen? The sanction is fixed on 1,000 rupees, but the person who is eligible based on the securities is given comes down to 700 rupees after margin. The borrower is not supposed to maintain anything above 700 rupees. So sanction 1,000, drawing power 700. If the outstanding balance is above the 700 itself for a period of 90 days, the accounts become out of order. Hope you understand. The drawing power cannot go above the sanction limit. Sanction level is the topmost. Drawing power moves upside down. It goes up or may go down based on the security value in the borrower books of accounts. So if the outstanding balance, that is the amount lying with the borrower, goes above the drawing power or sanction limit for a period of 90 days, the accounts goes into the bucket of out of order. It becomes a non-performing asset. The second situation is outstanding balance continuously remains less than the limit, remains less than the drawing power. The first situation, the outstanding balance is always above the sanction limit and drawing power. Second situation is outstanding balance is less than the drawing power and the sanction limit. Then why is the account called as out of order? In case there is insufficient credits to cover the interest debited in the previous 90 days. The bank will be debiting interest every month. At the end of every month or at the beginning, first day of every month, the bank will be charging interest on the outstanding balance. If the credits are not sufficient, that is the repayment by the borrower, are not sufficient even to cover the interest debited in that account for a period of 90 days, then the account becomes out of order. The third situation, outstanding balance is less than the sanction as well as drawing power, but there are no credits at all. The banks keep on charging interest, but there are no credits at all. First, there is nothing about credit. The outstanding balance is above the sanction limit and drawing power. Account becomes non-performing. Second and third are really a similar situations because the outstanding balance will within the sanction limit, will within the drawing power, but insufficient credit to cover the interest debited in that account itself for a previous 90 days. And there are no credits for a period of 90 days, continuously for 90 days. No credits continuous for 90 days. This, it should not be seen on 31st March 2023. Any time during the year, if there are no credits for 90 days, continuously for 90 days, no credit during the entire year, the account will turn into an NPA on that day itself. NPA is not on a, we are not certifying NPA on a particular day. On a particular day, okay. If the account turns into a non-performing asset during the period of 1422 to 1423, that should have been identified as a non-performing asset. Hope you have understand this. With respect to CCOD, the criteria is out of order. For out of order, 90 days are mentioned. How the outstanding balance should behave in case of a sanctioned or drawing power. This is what we discussed. How that security, that is drawing power, is fixed. Drawing power, as I told you, depends on the statement. The statement that as a lender, the bank may not always know what is the stock and receivables of the borrower. So for that, the bank will receive a statement of stock and receivables from the borrower. Only based on that, the DP is fixed, and the fixed DP is fed into the system. Only if it is fed properly, the system will be able to identify the NPA properly. So based on a statement that I receive from the borrower, I fix the DP. Assuming I am not giving statement at all to the bank, what will happen? the bank will not be able to fix the drawing power at all. In that case, the drawing power automatically becomes 0. So if the 0 continues for 90 days, then the account becomes a non-performing asset. Outstanding balance in the account is based on stock statements older than 3 months, and such irregularity continues for more than 90 days. Assuming September stock statement is given. When it will be given? It will be given in the month of October. Okay. Then it is valid for 3 months. Maximum of 3 months only it is valid, which means it is valid till January of 10th. So the default period from 11th January till 31st March, 90 days is not over, which means on 31st March, it is not a non-performing asset, which means if the bank borrower has submitted statements till the month of September, he may not become a non-performing asset. If the bank does not receive for September, the stock statements could be received in monthly or quarterly, depends on the sanction. The sanction letter will mention whether stock statement or receivable statement should be handed over to the bank on monthly or quarterly basis. Assuming it is monthly, if the bank has received stock statements of the borrower till September, then there should not be a problem. The account may not become a non-performing asset because of this reason. If the bank has not received for the month of September or for the quarter ended September, the account becomes non-performing asset because the drawing power becomes 0 on the end of 90th day, and it will continue for 90 days. That account should be classified as a non-performing asset. This is with respect to drawing power. There could be another reason for an account becoming a non-performing, which is non-renewal of a CC account. As you would have seen yesterday, there is an appraisal mechanism when the application is received from the borrower. The borrower gives the application to the bank manager. The manager appraises, which means he will go into the financials, whether he is eligible, whether he will be able to repay everything, what is the security that is available, everything will be gone through, and then only the amount will be sanctioned to the borrower. We can term this renewal process as a mini appraisal mechanism. Every year, the CCOD should be renewed. The cash credit account should be renewed. That is available. The lending is available only for a period of 1 year. At the end of 1 year, that account should be renewed. You see, that is a process, which is a mini appraisal process. Once again, all similar documents that is received during the application should be received during this renewal process. That is, the bank manager has to appraise once again whether he is able to do this, whether he has routed all credits, whether the security is alive. All these things he will ascertain once again. That process is called renewal of the account. Where renewal or ad hoc credit limits are not renewed, where regular credit limits are not renewed, are renewed within 180 days from the due date. This renewal process, bank is giving time. For example, the loan CC credit is issued on 1st of January 2022. So it is subject to renewal on or before 1st of January 2023. There will be negotiations. Bank will ask for several documents. The borrower will take time to give those documents. So there is a grace period that is given. 1st April 2022, CC was sanctioned. 1st April 2023, the account should have been renewed. And the grace period given for this renewal period is 180 days, which means 6 months from 1st of January 2023, which is 30th June 2023. Within 1st June 2023, the account should have been renewed. That is, even 6 months of grace time is given. If the 6 months of grace time has entered on 31st March 2023, then that account should have been classified as a non-performing. If the 6 months falls on I'm telling about the audit period that you are going to see. If the 180 days has expired during 31st March 2023 or on or that before day itself, 100 days completed, that is the 1 year is over, that is initial sanction 1 year is over, and the grace period of 180 days is also over before 31st March, then that account should be classified as a non-performing on 31st March itself. Assuming The 180 days, the end of 180th day falls after 1st of April 2023. The account need not be classified as NPA, but this is subject to reporting in the long form audit report. I think yesterday you would have discussed on the explanation regarding the where to classify this account, where to mention this account in the long form audit report. Here, the account does not become a non-performing asset, but it is highlighted as a potential non-performing asset. It should be mentioned in the long form audit report. And I should tell you one thing regarding the stock statement. On 31st of 2022, take the example as 31st March 2022. There is a stock statement that is received from the borrower. There will be a particular amount mentioned in that. If that borrower would have also submitted the audited financial statements of 31st March 2022. What we should do is we should compare the stock statement, the figure given in the stock statement and the receivable statement. That figure matches with the audited financial statements given for the year ended 31st March 22, because when 31st March 22 audit was done, this could not have been received. So the previous auditor would not have checked. Now, when we are doing audit for 22-23, the documents are in our hand. So we have to check the stock figure, what is mentioned in the stock statement and in the financial statement, is it matching? Or it could be, there could be a difference, but the difference should not be a significant amount. If there is a deviation is significant, definitely we must mention the point in the LFAR that the stock statement obtained, there is a huge deviation between the stock figure and trade receivable statement figure mentioned in those two statements are significantly differing. We should definitely mention that in the LFAR. There is another figure that is pertinent, not a figure, it's a reporting. CARO 2022 has a company's auditor's report, which is applicable to corporates, not all corporates, for a particular corporates, which is not a small company. There are several thresholds that is given in the CARO eligibility itself. And if the CARO report is applicable, the statutory auditor's company would have given the CARO report. In the CARO report, there is a particular point that is given whether the statement, the stock statements given to the bank are in sync, are in line with the number given in the 31st March financial statements. Whether that is matching or not, the auditor need to comment on the CARO. That comment is very important. That also we should see. So the figures given in the stock statement of 31st March 22 should match with the financial statements. In addition, the comment of the statutory auditor in the CARO report should also be seen. If there is a comment that is given, definitely that is worth mentioning in the long form audit report. We saw the NPA classification for term loan and CC facility. With respect to bills purchased and discounted, bill remains overdue for a period. It is this is the similar to term loan. If the bills remains overdue, what is the overdue means? It is due to payment to the bank on a particular day. If the borrower defaults, that becomes overdue. And from the date of overdue, if it is outstanding for more than 90 days, then that particular account, the bills purchase and discount account, will become non-performing. On the end of 30th, on the end of 90th day, the accounts falls from, that is, it moves from performing to non-performing asset. Credit card dues, in case of credit card dues, mostly credit card dues are handled at the central level, and there could be particular branches are allowed to operate or account to hold this credit card dues. In case of credit card dues, if every credit card due will have a minimum amount that is to be paid. For example, my due for the month may be 1,000 rupees, but the minimum, every statement will have this minimum amount also. If the minimum amount due itself is not paid and the period exceeds 90 days, that account may become a non-performing asset. Several of you may be deputed for a agricultural or a rural branches in where there could be several agricultural advances. For a agricultural advance, the default is a little different. For term loan, it is different. CC, it is different. For an agricultural advance, the period that is within which the amount to be paid is little different. For an agricultural advance, installment of principal or interest remains overdue. In case of other term loans, these are 90 days. In case of agricultural ones, this 90 days is replaced by 2 crop season for a short duration crop, 1 crop season for a long duration crop. What is this crop season? What is this duration crop? Short duration crop? We will not be able to ascertain. There is a special committee for this. State level banking committee, you call it as SLBC. That SLBC circular will mention every type of crop, every crop as whether it is short-term duration, what is the season for that will be mentioned in that. So in the application, if you see, the applicant would have mentioned that he is in a particular crop harvesting, that is he is in sugarcane or rice. That rice, how it is classified in the SLBC document, state level banking committee, whether it's a long term or short term, it will be mentioned in that. So we have to see the application and ensure that application is fed properly in the CBS, because only based on that classification of NPA happens. In case of a short-term duration crop, for example, I will assume rice as a short-term duration crop. If there is a repayment, for example, I've lent it on 1st of March 2022, okay, which is subject to payment on assume it as 1st of October 2022. Due date is 1st of October 2022, and from that period to crop season, assume crop season is 4 months. So if the default continues for 2 crop seasons, default continue for 2 into 4 months, which is 8 months. And after that 8 months expiry, if the amount is due, then that account that is overdue for 8 months, that accounts become a non-performing asset. Assuming, now we'll assume as sugarcane. Sugarcane is a long-term duration crop. And in case of a long-term duration crop, and assume it as 8 months, okay, or 9 months. If the amount account, the period of default is more than 9 months, then that account. I hear some noises. I request you to put it in. If that default, in case of a long-term duration crop, if the default continue for 1 crop season, in the previous example, I assumed 2 into short-term crop season of 4, and default is for 8 months, that advance will be classified as a non-performing. In case of a long-term, there is only one. I will not multiply it by 2. It is only one crop season, which is 9 months. Example, I'm telling you this is an example. If the overdue continues for more than 90 days, then that agricultural advance will become a non-performing asset. Crop season, the period up to all those you will see it later. This SLBC differs from state to state. It's a state level banking committee. A particular crop may be classified as short-term crop or a short-term duration crop in a particular state, and that crop may be classified as a long-term duration crop in another state. It depends on that state's geography. So if you're going to do audit for 2 different states, branches in 2 different states, definitely you must go through the SLBC of that state before classification. This is very important. And this SLBC circular, definitely the head office will be giving a direction or passing on this SLBC crux of SLBC to the branch. So we need to get this circular from the internal circular from the branch, and then have to go through and before doing this agricultural advance classification. Identification, asset classification should be borrower wise or not facility wise, which is assume I have a CC facility in a branch. I also have a term loan facility in a branch. I'm operating my CC facility properly. And term loan facility, I make a defaults. I make 3 or 4 defaults. So my term loan facility will be classified as a non-performing, but my CC will be performing because I have not made any defaults or non-renewals in a CC account. So I am a performing CC account. My term loan is not performing. In that case, how the classification is to be made? The classification should be borrower wise, which means my performing CC account will also become non-performing because of default in term loan. This is very important because wherever system is identifying non-performance because of defaults, system will automatically classify the other account, the performing account, into a non-performing automatically. System does it. System is equipped, programmed in such a way that system identifies it. But it is for us to check in samples whether the system does. That is, in case of every facility available to a particular borrower is classified non-performing, is one of the account is a non-performing. System does it. Wherever we are during the course of audit, if we are going to identify a particular account as non-performing, ensure we classify all other accounts available by the facilities available by the particular borrower also to be classified into a non-performing asset. This is very important because everything is manual here. We are identifying, system is not identifying, and we are not going to change anything during the course of audit. We are not going to change anything. Everything is freezed. As you know, on 31st March 2023, when the accounts are closed, no further entries or modifications could be done for that period unless it is done at the HO level. Nothing is done at branch level. For a corporate audit, we'll be identifying certain entries and passing it on 31st March. That is not possible in case of a branch. The accounts are closed, books are closed, no branches are at any level. These entries that are allowed to be passed. Every entry is passed at HO level, which we need not worry at all. How does the HO know? How does the HO know that this is the entry that I'm suggesting? I've identified a particular account as a non-performing asset. How does the HO know? We communicate to the central statutory auditors. How? In the audit report that the partner is going to sign, there is a list of memorandum of, it's called memorandum of changes. There is a statement that is separately signed by the auditor, as well as that changes that we are suggesting through MOC, memorandum of changes. We are also putting that in the mentioning that in the audit report. It's a part of audit report. It's a format prescribed part of audit report. We are also going to mention. So ensure the MOC changes, the MOC statement, the figures that we are mentioning also is mentioned in the audit report. So if you're going to mention anything in that, that will be communicated to the central statutory auditor. He will ensure that all the entries suggested by the auditor in the branch is passed at central level. We need not worry about it. Only thing, the last year MOC suggested by the previous auditor were complied with the system. Example, assume a particular account the previous auditor identified as NPA and past MOC. The central auditor would have changed that category from performing to non-performing on a particular day. Assuming May 2022, the auditor would have seen the March 2022 NPA statement and put it. We have to go to the borrower account, ensure that NPA is mentioned properly. Because classification that is suggested by the previous auditor, we have to ensure that is passed. If it is not passed, we have to check with the bank why it is suggested MOC is not agreed by the central statutory auditor and not accordingly changed in the borrower ledger. If the error, if erosion in value is of categories so and so percentage, assuming during the facility of availment, I would have given a particular asset as a security for the borrowing. There should be a valuation report that is obtained. For if an account is classified as a non-performing and the account has a security, the valuation of that particular security, we need to get it every 3 years. For a non-performing asset, the valuation report cannot be more than 3 years old. Okay, and assume we are getting some valuation report done during the financial year 22-23, and the value shown in the security is substantially less. Example, during availment of as per the latest evaluation report, the value of security is 100 rupees. And at the time of initial grant of the facility, during the year 22-23, I obtained a valuation report from the borrower since the account has become a non-performing asset. And if the security value says 40 rupees, that is from 100, it has fell to 40 rupees, which means the erosion of the value is more than 50%. That account will be, irrespective of the account, the classification is that account will become a doubtful asset. I will tell you what is substandard, doubtful, and loss in the next few slides. Now, as of now, we just understand the category of the asset becomes doubtful. If the erosion is more than 90%, for this, in the same example, 100 rupees is the value of security during the grant, and when I receive the valuation report, subsequently, after the asset become a non-performing asset, the value is only 9 rupees. That is, the erosion is more than 90% in the value. That asset will be classified as a loss asset automatically. It does not go through every bucket in the non-performing category. Directly, it goes into the completion category, goes into the loss category. We'll see this slide first and then move to the previous one. As I told you, broadly, standard, substandard. In substandard, there are 3 categories. In the NPA, there are 3 categories. NPA, substandard is the first category, doubtful is the second category, loss is the third category. If an account from regular, it comes directly, or from SMA 2, it comes into the NPA category. In the NPA category, it first falls into the bucket of substandard. And for a period of 12 months, that particular asset is in the substandard category. And then if the 12 months is completed in substandard category, it moves into the doubtful category. In doubtful, there are 3 categories. Up to 1 year, it stays in D1. For a period of 1 to 3rd year, it stays in D2. And if it is in the asset in the D2 category for a period of 3 months, doubtful category for a period of 3 years, it moves into the D3 category, D3 category. What is the relevance of this subcategories? Substandard, doubtful, D1, D2, D3, and loss. What is the significance of this? Significance of this categorization of an advance. The bank will provide provision for this for these advances. This is similar to provision for doubtful debts. Example, in a corporate, there is a receivable of 100 rupees. That 100 is not received for a several period or several years. What does the auditor do? The auditor will say, provide for the bad debts provision. Provide for the bad debts. That is, it will be there in receivables, and the auditor will mention less the provision for bad and doubtful debts 100 rupees, and receivable will be 0. It is similar to that. It is similar to bad and doubtful debts provision. In bank, it is called provision for NPA. So depending on this category in the substandard, doubtful, and loss, provision is made by the bank. It is all automized. Auditor will only test check. It is not, we are not going to calculate anything manually. Everything is systemized, automated properly in a banking environment in CBS. The auditor only test check. So once again, recalling the category, regular, from standard, it moves into substandard. Substandard, if the default continues, it moves into D1. After completion of 1 year in D1, it moves into D2. After completion of 2 years in D2, it moves into D3. From D3, it need not go to loss. D3 is the last milestone. It's the last milestone for any asset. D3 and loss, provision is always 100%. So it's no difference in that. When does it goes to loss? An asset may go to standard to substandard to doubtful, and D3 it may remain, or an asset may directly fall into loss. From standard, it may become loss. From doubtful, it may become loss. From substandard, it may become loss. What is the possibility? As I told you, it could be because of dispute. It could be because of erosion in value of the asset, which we saw in the previous screen. The erosion is more than 90% of the value of security. The account may fall into a loss category. More than 90%, then such advance shall be classified as loss. So to fall into loss category, it need not go into each of the buckets and then fall. It could come from any category. For example, the borrower may expire, it could come into loss category. There is a dispute, or the security is destroyed, assuming the building falls. There is no security out of that. Where is the, so the entire outstanding balance will go into loss category. There is no doubt. There is no doubt at all. There is no recovery. The bank cannot go and take stock of the attach the building because there is no building. So that particular asset advance will downgrade from standard or substandard or doubtful into loss category. So loss is not the milestone. D3 is the milestone. Loss from anywhere it go into loss. Now we'll go into the previous slide. This is called, I can just give you an example for that. Assume an account as there is a default of 4 installments. On third installment itself, the account will become a non-performing asset. So there is another default also. So an asset has come into the category of substandard. After becoming substandard, what is the borrower doing? Borrower comes and repays 2 installments. So does this account become performing asset because the outstanding is less than 2 installments? On 31st March 2023, there is only 2 installment pending. So does this make the account performing? It is less than 3 installments. No, because once the account falls into NPA category, to become a performing asset, to upgrade itself from non-performing to performing, the entire arrear, in this case, the entire 4 months due should have been paid to become a performing asset. This is the crux of the slide. You can just forget the slide and hear me. Once the asset becomes a non-performing asset, to become a performing asset, the entire due of principal and arrears on the date of, I'm not telling in a particular date, on any day, and the borrower comes and asks, my account is a non-performing asset, make me a performing asset. The branch manager will go to the system, calculate the entire principal, entire interest arrears on that day. On that day, interest and principal arrears, not the entire outstanding balance. Whatever is due on that day. If he pays the entire amount, that account, only then it becomes a performing asset. Just because on 31st March 2023, the only two installments are outstanding, it does not make the account a standard. To upgrade from non-performing to performing, the entire arrears of principal interest should be paid. Only then it can become a performing asset. We saw this. This is the provision. I told you it is similar to provision for bad and doubtful debts. So how does the provision happening? Everything is system made. We are not going to do any calculation wherever NPAs are identified by the system. If system identifies NPA, it will automatically provide it. Provision, every provision is done automated. We are not going to touch anything. We may check few items out of the list that is received. We will receive a list of advances from the bank. We will receive not in the printed manner. We will receive it as a dump. We can convert into Excel. There will be several items. For example, there will be 3,000 or 5,000 line items. So we need not do everything. Out of the NPA category assets, we may choose to test check some of the items. It's only an Excel sheet, so if you put a formula, you can easily identify it. So every asset, for a standard asset, how does the provision happening? It is 0.25% or 2%. There is a range for type of, it depends on the type of facility. It is done at the head office level. The branch is not going to worry about that on provision on standard assets. For a substandard asset, it is 15% of the balance outstanding, whether it is secured or unsecured. It is 15% of the balance outstanding. Straight away, if an account is classified as a substandard asset on a particular day, then on that day, 15% will be provided for. If it is in D1 category, 100%, every asset will have a 2 portion, secured portion, unsecured portion. For example, the outstanding balance is 110 rupees. Security is available only for 100 rupees. 10 rupees in an unsecured portion of the outstanding balance. So for 100 rupees, which is a secured portion, 25% will be provided. So 25% into 125 rupees. And for unsecured portion is 100%, which means 25% of the secured plus 10 rupees of the unsecured portion, 35 rupees will be provided for. It's all automated. So depending on the category of the bucket, provision is made automated. If it is loss, 100%. As you can see, D3 and loss will have the 100% provision. There is no difference between the provision value among the D3 and the loss. There is no difference in provision. We should be careful. We should see this category because whenever NPAs are identified by auditors, when we are going to go there and find a particular account and classify that as a non-performing asset, we should be mentioning that in the memorandum of changes, because as I told you, we should not, nobody can pass an entry or classify some account as an NPA on system when we are going. We will give it in, we will communicate that this account is classified as a performing, but it's a non-performing, or this account is classified as a substandard, but it's a loss. This account is classified as D2, but it's a loss. Any change in category, we will be mentioning that in the MOC, which will be communicated to the statutory auditor. In those cases, we should manually calculate this provision and mention that in the LFA, mentioned in the MOC. Because system has not automated, because system has not identified that account as a non-performing asset, we are going to identify something and we should suggest to statutory auditor, this is the account identified, this is moving from this category to this category. When there is a change in category, naturally the provision also will change. So we have to mention the classification, the category in which the advance is falling, and also the provision, that is additional provision that is changed. It need not be upgrade only. Can also, it need not be downgrading. Downgrading means substandard, DA1, D2, A2 loss. This is downgrading. Whenever our asset becomes a substandard to standard, it's called upgradation of asset. So MOC may contain any number pertaining to this classification and the security portion, the provision portion. This is a change. We have to mention that in the MOC. Upgradation of an account. This is what I told. When there is a non-performing to a performing asset, system does not know, system does not do. Downgradation, system does automatically in most of the cases. But upgradation are always done on manual basis. Branch manager identifies upgradation and does it manually. In those cases, we have to check 100%. Downgrading, automated, we must test check on sample basis, which has to be chosen scientifically. But for upgradation of accounts, it is done manually. So every upgradation has to be verified completely, and only if it satisfies those conditions that accounts can be upgraded. If there is an agreement is upgradation, the manager, the auditor can leave it as it is. If there is no agreement, if the auditor does not agree that to be this upgradation should not have been done, if the audit disagrees with the branch manager, then that also to be mentioned in the LFAR. The LFAR particularly has a point on this upgradation, whether upgradation has been done only to those account which is has to be done. If the auditor has a disagreement, it has to be mentioned, and this disagreement will be forming part of the MOC. These are the non-financial factors, which I already non-financial parameters that I told. See, or similar to that. System does not know whether the borrower given the stock statements. System does not know if there is a irregular time. System does not know renewal is done or not. System knows it only when somebody manually feeds some date into the system, renewal done or not, the system can understand. There are several possibilities. The branch manager do some changes unauthorized. Unauthorized means without proper appraising, without proper renewal mechanism. There is a possibility that the manager can go into the system and can change this renewal date or fix some renewal date without any proper documents. So these are non-financial factors. The account becomes non-performing asset. Out of IRAC, we saw AC till that. Till now, account classification was only seen. Income recognition is a very short one. Wherever the an account is identified as a non-performing asset, the income that is recognized in the books of accounts, and that income, if it is not received, for example, an account is identified as non-performance during the year, and the interest portion will be debited in a particular frequency, it could be monthly. And out of that, when the account is classified as a non-performing asset, wherever the interest is not received, the system pass on the entry on accrual basis. At the end of the month, system automatically passes the entry and accrual basis is recognized. Whenever this interest is unrealized, that portion of unrealized interest from that non-performing asset, only during that period, only in that cases, the income has to be reversed. Understand, this income reversal is also automated. System is programmed in such a way, when an account is classified as a non-performing, the unrealized interest portion, system automatically reverses it. We have to be careful wherever manual NPAs are identified. That is, during the audit, if you have identified a particular account as a non-performing asset, we need to compute the unrealized portion. System doesn't know, because system has not identified the particular account as a non-performing. So system doesn't know. So when we identify, we need to give this MOC in the MOC, this unrealized portion also, interest reversal also to be suggested in the MOC. Assuming a particular account becomes an NPA in last year itself, but they have missed to classify it. And now when we are classifying it, we need to classify in such a way that if that account is classified as NPA in last year, and continuation to that, if that reclassification, that is, if it is missed to be classified as substandard in the previous year, this year we should classify that account as a doubtful asset. That is, if it is classified as substandard last year, it would have naturally fallen to the bucket of D2. Since it is not classified, it does not become a substandard, it becomes a doubtful only. In those cases, unrealized interest could be pertaining to year 22-23, or it could pertain to 1/4/22 before also, because last year itself it just became a non-performing asset. In that case, we have to segregate properly in MOC, saying that this is the portion, unrealized interest portion, and non-realized, non-received interest portion of year 22-23, and this is the unrealized portion of year before 31st March 22. So that interest for the credited for the year, interest recognized for the year which is not received is reversal of income, and which is not received but credited or recognized in the previous years. If it is to reverse, it is provision for income. That is, it is reversal of only if it is recognized, it could be reversed. If it is recognized in previous year, it is not reversal, it is provision. So we have to categorize it properly in the MOC. In case of advance with moratorium period for repayment, I think this may not be very relevant in every case. Prudential norm for restructuring. As I told you in the beginning, there is a concept called restructuring. It's a concession given to the borrower. That is, assuming I'll continue the same example. 100 plus 1 into 2 I've received. During that period, the borrower comes to the bank saying, I have so and so financial difficulties. I will not be able to repay as agreed in the sanction terms. So give me some concession. So the bank may consider it and say, instead of 1,000 plus interest every month repay, you repay 750 rupees plus interest every month. Because of that, the tenure will get increased. This is one of the concession. There could be a concession rate, that is change in rate of interest. There could be a change in repayment terms, or it could be anything. If there is a change in terms agreed in sanction, that is called restructuring. If any change, it could be any change, but only that the person who has granted the sanction has only the powers for restructuring. It could be above that or from that. Nobody below that power, below the sanction power, nobody can permit restructuring. It can only be above. So this is called restructuring. Modification in terms of advance of security, including payment period, installment rate of interest, and additional credit facility. So what is financial difficulty? Every bank will have a policy. That policy will be adhered to. Only then restructuring can be done. The additional thing that you have to keep in mind is, whenever restructuring is done, the account has to be downgraded. For example, the account is a performing asset. The borrower comes to the bank for an application for restructuring. When the bank agrees for restructuring, during restructuring, the account has to be downgraded from performing to non-performing. only then restructuring can be done. So we have seen IRAC norms so far. So where are we going to report? Whatever we have seen, we should report it somewhere, right? Where is the reporting place? As you saw yesterday, reporting is long form audit report. Wherever the verification is done, reporting is done in LFAR. It could be any reporting. So with respect to IRAC, where is the reporting done? What is the reporting to be done? I've given a couple of slides. One of the clauses, have you come across cases of quick mortality in accounts where the facility has become non-performing within a period of 12 months from the date of first sanction? Normally, a sanction is supposed to be done properly with good sense and with faith of repayment from the borrower. If a particular account becomes a non-performing within a period of 12 months, there is something wrong in the sanctioning methodology. There is something wrong in the appraising methodology. Those accounts, RBI wants information. As it bank central statutory itself and the auditor itself wants some information. If the account falls within a period of 12 months, we need to give the account number, name, balance of the asset, day, year end. We have to give some information, reporting it properly. List the accounts outstanding in excess of 10 crores, which has either been downgraded or upgraded. If there is an upgradation or downgradation happening in excess of 10 crores, with regard to classification of an account. For example, the bank has classified it as D1. I'm saying it's a loss. Downgrading. The bank has classified it as D2. I'm saying it's a performer. Or I'm saying it's a substandard. Bank has wrongly classified the account. So wherever there is a movement, because of us, after we identifying the account and that balance outstanding in that particular account is more than 10 crores, we need to report that in the LFAR. Whether the upgradation in non-performing assets is in line with the norms. So we have, for this, we have to read the master circular issued by the RBI dated 1/4/2022. It is this considered a very general question. Upgradation is done properly. As I said, downgradation, not all accounts we are going to check. We have to select samples scientifically. Upgradation, we need to check 100%. Where the auditor, if there is a disagreement in the upgradation, the bank has done the upgradation. If there is a disagreement with us, the auditor is not agreeing further, we need to report it. Next, in respect of non-performing assets, the branch has obtained valuation report. As I told you, for NPA accounts, as on 31st March 2023, the valuation report should not be older than 3 years. Through LFAR, we are going to report in case of NPAs, valuation reports are less than 3 years old. We need to report that. Has the branch complied with the income recognition norms? As I told you, unrealized interest has to be reversed in case of an NPA, whether that is done properly. It's all automated. We need to test check in case of assets identified manually by auditor as an NPA, whether we are suggesting properly in the memorandum of changes. And if we are going to mention that, we need to mention here also that it has to be given in MOC and LFAR. We have to mention that so far so and so accounts are being identified by us. Income recognition not done according to the prescription, even prescribed in the circular. So we need to give that properly in MOC as well as LFAR reporting. These are the few things that I've listed, particularly for the audit team, that on field we are going to do audit, perform audit. I want these 9 points. You need to keep in mind. No tick marks on the document. Usually we have have a pen on hand, tick wherever we are seeing. In bank audit, we are not supposed to tick anything in their document. In our document, in our notebook, our working paper, we can tick anything. Wherever we are going to return the documents to them, example, security, it could be application form, it could be security documents. For removed property, the borrower would have pledged the original, property documents, parent documents, etc. We are not supposed to mark anything. I suggest not even in pencil in the documents, because if we are going to change something, modify something, or tick something, the documents which they have placed may become void, which means it turns from security to unsecured. So ensure we don't tick anything in their documents. Documents to be returned to the bank after verification by end of the day. We'll be getting a lot of documents during verification. Ensure we keep it properly. Return everything to the branch staff or manager, whoever is responsible. At the end of the day, keep our place clean. If something happens or getting lost, we will be held responsible for documents. Handle with care. Old documents could be fragile. There could be documents which are very old, will be very fragile. Once, just like when we are turning, if it gets torn, we will be held responsible. So handle all the documents properly. Don't use sensitive words to be handled by your principal. For example, do not use words like fraud, misappropriation. All those words don't use. If you're getting such opinion, convey that to your partner. He will take care, handle it properly. As an audit executive, do not use those words directly with either the branch manager or their staff. Documentation to be done simultaneous verification. Whenever you are verifying, ensure we are recording it properly. At that time itself, we are noting down in a working papers, because once you return, we cannot get those documents from the bank side, because they'll be under this huge pressure of completion of audit. They may not cooperate, and in that as a consequence, we may not get information enough to report in the LFAR or main audit report. Do not assume anything. See everything through system. See on the screen. Don't assume this might be that may not happen. Report of other audits. There could be several audits done during the period of 22-23. It could be RBI inspection audit. It could be internal inspection. It could be information technology audit. It could be revenue audit. There are several kinds of audit that the branch is undergoing, or could be concurrent audit also. So get the applicable audits from them and get those audit reports. Go through it. We might get some clue from those documents, and based on that, we can modify our audits. Read the master circular IRAC. This is only with respect to income recognition and asset classification. IRAC norms. This master circular, as I said, we need to go through at least once before commencing the audit. Collect samples for all LFAR points. Wherever we are reporting, just don't report as it is. We need to have documents. For example, we are going to downgrade or upgrade, and if there is a disagreement, we are going to mention that in the LFAR and in the MOC. So have enough information. Get a statement of account printed. All documents need not be printed. It could be a digital document. Ask them to send a mail. As one more very important thing, consolidate all your observations at the end of the day. Wherever there is a reply or a discussion that is required, end of the day, list everything, discuss with your partner, and send it to the bank through mail. Because this will ensure we have put up all the queries to the manager, and this will ensure the branch manager will not go back and say that this point you are not discussing and coming and telling it to us only in the last minute. To avoid this, because this time available during the audit is very limited. So whenever we are doing coming to a conclusion, discuss that with the manager end of the day through sending mail. And I've completed my presentation. Wherever you have doubts, I request you to unmute. I request the host to enable the participant to unmute and ask. Thank you very much.
We have given the option to unmute also, and participants can also post their queries in chat box. Sir will reply to those queries.
I'm seeing the chat box.
Yeah.
How to just a second. I'll go one by one. How to verify previous year MOC entries in current balance sheet. In balance sheet in current year CBS. For example, there is a change in classification. Okay. Last year it was not done. According to the MOC, the manager would have gone into the system and changed that. Example, assume an MOC is the account is reclassified as a non-performing on 1/6/2022. NPA date itself would have been mentioned 1/4/2021. Okay, that if you go into the CBS and see the NPA date, that date will sync with the reporting date as given in the previous year MOC. How to and where to check reversal of interest on advances. become NPA during the year. As I said, system identified MOCs, system identified NPS, there is a check in the interest on advances, automatically reverses it. Whereas there is manual NPA, you can't see anywhere in the system. Give it in MOC, and I think it is visible in audit trail. If you go to audit trail, this is the entry that is passed. You can see that somewhere. You can check with the bank where you can see they will, because different banks have different softwares. So there is no one method to tell. You can check with the bank and ensure that it's done. They will be able to guide you. And ensure you get used to the CBS before you start the audit. And one more thing, ensure we get a read-only user ID credentials from the bank, because when we are going to get their user ID password, this will enable us to change something. At the end of the day, they should not blame us saying this is not done by me. See, this is done on so and so date where you are handling it. To ensure we get the user ID password, read-only user ID password in which audit module is enabled. If this is, if you get that by mail, don't get it manually. Ask them through mail that this is user ID, this is the password, and this is the user and read-only password, and start using that for all your verifications. Can you share audit documentation checklist to be used while carrying out bank audit? This, if you go through the guidance note, which is given in the ICAI website, you go to Google, ask for guidance note on bank audit, bank branch audit. Inside that, every checklist is given. Do according to that is sufficient. So whatever is given in the chat, I've answered.
Participants, is there any other?
having-
Yeah, Niveta, go ahead.
Yeah, anyone having doubt, they can ask.
Hope it's concluded.
Guys, anyone having doubt? So I think everyone is clear in their concept, sir. So thank you so much for your wonderful session and your valuable time. And I hope you guys have a better guys for your time. Tomorrow's session will be as interesting as today's, and we expect the same support from you guys. That's it for today. This is Niveta Velmurugan signing off.
Thank you, members of SICASA. Thank you, Niveta.
Thank you so much.
I must really thank all the participants, the 34 participants. When started, it was, I think, around 60 or 65. It has come down to 34. People have left. Anyway, thank you very much for your patient listening. All the best. You are the ambassadors. Every student here are the ambassadors of your firm. Ensure audit is done properly and within the time limited. It is done properly. Documentation is done so that it is a weapon for your partner who is signing wherever it is positive or negative. Your documentation only will help your partner and gain confidence out of your work. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.